Many times our ancestors and those of us who followed spent time on the rocks rather than the beaches of the Apostle Islands. There were many sandstone shelves that were accessible on calm, sunny days. Although several miles to the east, the Devil's Island rock shelf on the north side of the island was a favorite. Far closer and just as accessible in calm weather was the Sand Island sandstone shelf on the north end of Sand Island. Between the two islands was the shelf on the northwest end of York Island, a favorite of some Dall descendants to this day. Of the two books I wrote, The Islander and Sand Island Sagas, you can see York Island in the background of the cover with the rowboat. On the one with the raft, it was too misty. The Apostle Islands map on the top shows the positioning between Sand Island, Devil's Island, and York Island. You can also see Rocky Island a little bit to the east of Devil's Island. The aerial photographs are screenshots from Google Earth. Fred C. Anderson and Bob Dall on the rocks at Devil's Island, 1965. Trips to Devil's Island were a summer tradition going back to the late 1800s. On this day, we gathered those from Shaw Point to make the Devil's Trip. As the others walked the short distance to the lighthouse, Mr. Anderson and I stayed back to cook lunch for all. Rocky Island can be seen in the background. Dall family photo. Sand Island Light in the 1920s. This is before the White Tower was added and subsequently removed. The sandstone shelf was quite large back in the day. Over the past 130 years, many gatherings were held here. The shelf was much more defined in the old days. A gathering on the shelf is mentioned in a chapter in The Islander. Dall family photo, BHA. Shaw Pointers posed for a photo on the rock south of the Sand Island Lighthouse, 1958. Seen are Mary Hewlings, Phoebe Harris, Tom Yench, Mickey Moe, Martha Hewlings, Wanda Yench Harris, and Tom Lindell. This may be the area that we called Carl O. Dall Bay. We could land here when the waters around the lighthouse were too rough to dock a boat. The bay was usually used in a light north wind or a heavy west wind when landing at the lighthouse would have been unwise. MHR family photo, BHA. On the rocks at Sand Island Lighthouse, 1959. Seen are a mixture of East Bay descendants and Shaw Pointers. They are Judy Moe, Mary Hewlings, Peter Yench, Tom Lindell, and Bob Dall. We are drinking champagne, although all of us were underage at the time. This was one of the many advantages of being far out on an island in Lake Superior, away from the prying eyes of the authorities. On the right, the White Tower can be seen. It has since been removed. Dall family photo. A Shaw Point picnic on the rocks. Kind of a fancy group having lunch, using the rocks for seating. White rock cloth and all. Photo is from early 1900s. I am guessing that this spot might be located around the point from Shaw Point toward East Bay, and the guests would have walked, not come by boat. Bird Hill Collection, BHA. Bob Dall and Mary Hewlings, 1959, on the rocks of Sand Island. Because the lighthouse was closer, we spent far more time here than on the other islands' rocky shores. Also, one could walk to our lighthouse. We Sand Islanders spent many a fun day there. Since the Hewlings held a lease on the lighthouse for several years, we enjoyed many nights there also. Dall family photo. Shown are first cousins, Soren and Adele Dall, grandchildren of Carl Dall Jr., as they prepped to jump off the rocks on the northwest side of York Island a couple years ago. The island to the upper left is Bear Island, and land to the right is a continuation of York Island. Screenshot from Eric Dahl video.